Welcome to Your Inheritance, your rights, your obligations, your responsibilities, with your host, Peter Bochnewich. In each episode, you'll learn insights from experts. If you're being sued over an estate or if you feel you're not getting your share, Peter's firm can help you. You can find this show at www.betrustlaw.com and on YouTube, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. Now here's the host of Your Inheritance, Peter Bochnewich.
Hello and welcome to the podcast. Today's topic is estate planning for charitable purposes. How to benefit the health of the Coachella Valley with Kristian Ardelian, who is the Vice President, Major and Planned Gifts of Eisenhower Health Foundation. And the reason that we're doing this, as everyone knows, most of my podcasts are on Your Inheritance relate to trust and estate litigation, the work that this firm and others of my colleagues do in court in contested matters over estate plans. And we do a fair amount of estate plans ourselves at our law offices. And one of the biggest considerations in estate planning, or one of the, arguably for many reasons, one of the biggest components of estate plans that should be considered estate planning is the component of charitable giving. And here in the Coachella Valley, the cities of Rancho Mirage, Palm Springs, Indian Wells, Palm Desert, La Quinta, going from the West Valley to the East Valley, a renowned resort area, and also home to an increasing number of year-round residents, and that's been the trend for many, many years. One of the greatest objects of one's bounty for charity is our local hospital, Eisenhower Hospital, named for none other than the General Eisenhower, General President Dwight D. Eisenhower, who resided right here in the Coachella Valley after his retirement from public life. And General Eisenhower was the cornerstone of getting the hospital bearing his name started. Eisenhower has for many years been regionally and nationally, and is world renowned, has leading practice areas in a variety of disciplines. And to my understanding, it is the only not-for-profit hospital in the Coachella Valley. Here, it's a fundamental part of our community. There's no question about it. From where it's located in Rancho Mirage to all of the surrounding areas in our home, the Coachella Valley. And I don't think there's anyone better to discuss Eisenhower Health Foundation than Kristian. Kristian is a vice president, major and planned gifts of Eisenhower Health Foundation. He's an attorney. He's a businessman. He's a leader at Eisenhower, and he's a leader in this community. There's no question about that. He's everywhere all at once, and he's a great family man. And welcome to the podcast, Kristian. I'm so glad you were able to come on board.
Peter, thank you so much for having me today. It's been a pleasure to get excited and ready for this podcast. I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to share what we do here at Eisenhower and how inheritance and how philanthropy and how planned giving is such a big part of this community hospital.
Well, that's my first question, Kristian. What is Eisenhower Health, and basically what does it do? Maybe you could describe the difference between Eisenhower Health as an organization and the hospital, and how you help the hospital and so forth.
Right. So Eisenhower Health is a hospital, obviously, here in the Coachella Valley that got established a little over 50 years ago. And today its reach spreads across the entire Coachella Valley. The vision of our leaders was really bringing excellent medical care right here in the Coachella Valley, right here in our community. And a lot of it was really based on philanthropy. The entire structure, the way we're developed here and the way we're able to manage things is through the philanthropic hearts of our donors that allow us to succeed and bring great medical care excellence here. We're the only full functioning nonprofit hospital in the area, in the Coachella Valley, and we don't receive funding from any state or federal governments or anything like that. So our ability to really raise money enables us to support the hospital in its choice to really prioritize patients over profits. So Eisenhower's founders responded to the need of for the first-rate community hospital. That was their vision. We wanted to make sure that we are able to provide the best possible care that we can to our patients and to our community.
I know that's going to be a very big concern for people who want to pay back what Eisenhower has given us for living here. I mean, my daughter was born there. Anytime I've had something that I've had to attend to, a few things, operations here and there, it's been at Eisenhower, and the care is wonderful. The doctors are great. The convenience is amazing, and it's just a great place to be treated for anything. And I guess I would like to ask the question: Eisenhower Health as an organization, as part of the philanthropic arm of the overall healthcare facility, how would you describe the mission of Eisenhower Health?
Well, our mission is really the Eisenhower Health Foundation mission. It was really created to support the hospital through fundraising. It allows the hospital to meet the consistent changing of the healthcare needs of our community as technology changes, as needs change, as our community continues to grow. And it's really the remarkable philanthropy that allows us to continue to attract great talent here, to hire the nation's best doctors as we can, and nurses, and build really the state-of-the-art facilities, deploy the latest technologies that we can, and all of which enables Eisenhower to create a very strong and a very vibrant medical community here. And it's really dedicated to our patients. We enjoy being independent. That's what this allows us to do. As the only nonprofit hospital here, our bosses are our patients. We don't have shareholders. So everything that we're able to do here and everything that we're able to create through operations and obviously through philanthropy, we put right back into our community, put right back into the hospital. And we continue to expand to make sure that we can provide that medical excellence to our patients here in the Coachella Valley.
So for our viewers, and I know estate planners are going to know this, but a lot of folks are just tuning in to find out about these things. I think we'll get a lot of hits on this. We'll get a lot of views because it is Eisenhower. But from your own perspective, what is a planned gift, and what are some of the benefits of planned giving?
Planned giving, it's an excellent way to really look at how you can create a very large impact. A planned gift is a charitable donation, and it's made as part of a donor's overall financial or estate planning, and it's often involving a large gift, which they can make towards the end of their life or at the end of their life, than during their lifetime.
In other words, what you're saying is it's a plan for the future.
Right.
It's not necessarily it's a testamentary gift or a pledge. It's not coming out of anyone's pocket now, but it's a pledge for the future that the hospital can count on, and plan with, and do some things with. And what maybe you could describe some of the vehicles that people use to do that, wills, trusts, or whatever, or how would you describe it, Kristian?
Yeah, there's so many different ways to do it, and the beauty of something like this is, you're right, Peter. It is a planned gift. It's a gift that usually comes into the future, but it can provide actually great benefit for the donor today. I mean, there's very tax advantageous strategies that you can utilize different types of vehicles where, yes, you can support institutions that you care about, in this case, for example, Eisenhower, but it can actually provide you great tax advantageous strategy today. And there's all different types of vehicles. For example, simple things like a simple bequest. You put it in your will or your trust, or things that you have an intent for, that you want to make sure that happens. And as estate planning attorneys, a lot of things we do, there's different types of way that you can put that type of gift. It could be a specific amount, or you can do a percentage amount, or you can do like a rest and residue, as I'm sure that you've created some estate plans like that, Peter. But it's a way of saying I want to support something, and I want to be able to make sure I have enough now while I'm alive. I want to make sure that I'm comfortable while I'm here, but I do want to create an impact in the future. So you can put that in a bequest. And there's other ways of doing things. For example, just to name a few, some of the very popular ones, like a life estate. A life estate is what a lot of people may say is they have a piece of property. Maybe it's their residence that they live in now, or a second home somewhere else.
You're talking about, if I may, you're
Yeah,
talking about making a donation now of a piece of property, but reserving a life estate to the donor,
that's right.
so that the gift is being made now. It goes on I guess it goes on the books of the Charitable Foundation
Right,
now. It's out of the estate of the donor now, but they still get to live in it,
right.
or they
There's,
still get to own it, or
there's,
they own it for their life. Well, they don't own it. They have a life estate in it, right?
that's correct, Peter. It's a great tool, especially for folks that have like a second home. But you're right. That's an immediate gift, technically, in the eyes of, let's say, the IRS. So when you've taken that out of your estate, so especially if you have like an estate tax issue, which the estate tax always the amount of the exclusion can change, and it changes over the years as leadership changes in the United States. It's a way to take that particular asset outside of your estate, and you're basically promising that piece of property to this institution, like Eisenhower, for example, or other charities. It could be more, and you can do 100% of it, or you can even do a percentage of it. Well, when that happens, is you actually create an immediate tax deduction on top of that. So you receive an immediate tax deduction at that particular time, so it can offset some of your tax liabilities. You take that asset outside of your estate, and what you've done is you've also simplified your affairs. We know that nobody wants to go through probate, but even
Right.
with the trust administration, Peter, one of the harder assets is real estate to deal with. So when you have to administer a piece of real estate, it takes a little bit more time. You have to get it prepared. With a life estate, at the passing of the last to pass, because you can put over more than one life, it automatically transfers to that particular institution. In this case, let's say Eisenhower. What that also means is all the liabilities transfer too. So obviously, there's the landscape, there's the pool person, there's the property tax, there's the HOA, those sorts of things. So when that happens and that individual, I like to say, graduates, when that person graduates, the property automatically transfers. Now, obviously, there's a reasonable amount of time to get the
When you say
personal
when the
items
person
done.
graduates, you're saying when the person passes on and
That's
no
right.
longer, right. I get it. We graduate to our next life. But
That's right.
so let me just ask a couple of questions, because you touched on a point there. So
Mhm.
so it could be when you make this transfer, the people retain the use of the property, and depending on how you structure the donated gift of the real property and the real estate, sometimes does the donor pay for some of those expenses, or sometimes
Yeah.
not. It depends on how you do it. But in your program, it could be that, look, you're basically giving us this property, you're giving it to us now, but you get to stay in it, but you don't have any. You can really limit the expenses that you have to carry it and maintain it and take care of it, but you have the full use and enjoyment of it. That's basically it.
To a certain extent, yes, but you do sign this thing called a maintenance, insurance, and tax agreement.
Right.
That part kind of stays the same. So everything that you're doing now, that stays the same. While you're alive and while you're enjoying the use of the property, you continue to maintain it.
Okay,
You,
that's what I
you
thought.
continue to maintain. You do pay the property tax in that regard as well.
Okay.
But at the end of life or at graduation day, that those expenses all go to the charity in this case. So your estate is no longer on the hook. So it could take 6 months, a year, or maybe longer to usually administer that piece of property. where in this case it's basically immediate, so your estate will not have those ongoing expenses.
Is that one of your more popular programs that you have?
It's a fairly popular program, just given the fact of our demographics where we live here in the Coachella Valley. The majority of the folks here are at a certain age group, and they have heirs or loved ones that don't necessarily live here in the Coachella Valley and may not want that country clubhouse or that home that they have here in the desert, and they'd rather have other assets where we know as estate planning attorneys, there's good assets and there's bad assets, but there's always better assets, right? And so you want to make kind of focus on making sure your heirs get the good assets and easy things than more difficult ones. Well, when you have that second house or you have that home here, that is a very popular one that we see here, and it's more really for life simplification than it is for tax purposes. It's a life simplification. It's receiving the tax deduction and really supporting an institution that they want to support. So that's one of our popular programs. Another one is, I would say, a little bit more sophisticated. It's a charitable remainder unit trust. This is such a great type of vehicle that you can utilize. It's very fluid. It's used for different types of assets, especially highly appreciated assets. Anything that has a very, very low basis that has maybe increased over the years. As an example, let's say it's like a commercial piece of property that you've used. Maybe you're a business owner and you're a CPA or an attorney that has a beautiful office and you've been practicing for a very long time, and now you're thinking a little bit of succession planning, but you want to support some institutions. And you've taken depreciation for a very significant amount of time on that particular asset, so your basis is very low. Well, we know what happens there, Peter, right? If you sell that asset, you're going
to have a capital gains issue.
Exactly, of capital gains taxes, all those other things. So a charitable remainder unit trust will allow you to put an asset inside of this great vehicle, basically sell it tax-free, bypass all the gain. And then the net amount of the proceeds are in this vehicle now, which can be invested with your money manager, your advisor, and you get an income stream for the rest of your life. And it could be generational, it could be for other heirs as well. And at the end of that term or that life, then you've also benefited a place that you care about. It could be one charity or several charities. And by the way, when you create this charitable remainder unit trust, again, you receive a tax deduction, a very significant one. So,
and you're benefiting a charity that has benefited you during your life. And in addition to that, these programs, I guess, could be incentivized, or there could be a thank you to the donor that they'll experience during their life beyond just the feeling that I'm doing something good and I'm doing something beneficial. I'm doing something for, I'm helping my community by supporting the hospital that does provide a lot of care to a lot of people who can't afford the care. And we'll get to that in a moment. Mm-hmm. But what does the program in that, are there any benefits, if you will, or any gimmies of the program that benefit the donor during
We do. We believe in proper recognition. I think recognition is important, because if somebody's going to make a significant type of commitment to us, may it be, stock gifts or cash or an annual fund or whatever the case may be, but a significant gift, which what we would consider a major gift. There's definitely things that we would like to assist our donors with. For example, we have a program, it's called 24/7. I think that's what some folks have heard about. And it's a program that was set up a little over 20 years ago. And it's our way of saying thank you back. It's a very tangible way of saying thank you back. And once you reach a level of giving, then what we try to do is try to just help navigate through this big medical world.
You're helping the donor you reach a threshold of giving, you reach a threshold of helping the community, whatever it is in current gifts or in planned giving for the future, and now you're going to get something back that's going to help them as folks get older
Right.
to streamline their experience in the healthcare system. Perhaps I could say it that way.
You can say it that way. It's a good way of saying it. We have a team of basically of almost 50 nurses, and their real focus is assisting those donors in that program of getting them through the system. May it be as simple as getting set up for a blood draw in the morning, or helping them and assisting them getting a primary care physician. As the Valley grows, primary care physician is basically your quarterback. That's your go-to person. I think it's very important to have a primary care physician, because that is the individual that knows you, that understands your healthcare needs. So when you have something else that comes up, they're the one that's going to refer you to, for example, like a specialist, maybe a cardiologist, or maybe a urologist, or an orthopedist if you need. So that primary care physician, when those orders come in and we see those, the team of nurses, they jump right on it. And they're the ones that are assisting you through the process. So they're able to assist you with obtaining those, getting into those times to see that specialist. Unfortunately, it's not just here, Peter, it's really everywhere. We just don't have enough talent. We need more doctors, we need more specialists, we need more physicians. And sometimes people get frustrated. They get frustrated that they need to see a specialist, but it's going to take several weeks or months, and many times. Well, our team, that 24/7 team, they can help massage some schedules and try to fit them in. Maybe those doctors will stay a little bit longer or see those patients during lunch. And they'll do that because through this philanthropic world that we're in, those gifts that we receive, those are the gifts that get invested into our institution. So when that specialist says, gosh, there's a new life-saving piece of equipment, we really need it, this is going to save lots of lives here in the Coachella Valley, we need this particular piece of equipment. The hospital world, or the business of it, doesn't really have a lot of funds that can be put into that, but philanthropy can. So that's when they come to the foundation and they say, we'd really like to invest in this particular piece of equipment because this is what this particular specialist thinks is really going to create an impact. So when we do this and we say, hey, doctor, specialist, we really need to get somebody in, we really need to see if there's a way to see this individual or see this group, they'll do that. They'll make that extra effort of staying a little bit longer to make sure that they can get in and help the community.
Quick question: Do you have also, as part of the program, for the people that are making these gifts, whether inter vivos during their life or these large planned giving gifts that are purchasing the equipment, building the wings, doing the things that are necessary to keep the hospital going, doing the things that are necessary to get the latest technology out there so people can benefit from that. My understanding was that there are part of the program involves physicians that maybe very experienced physicians, maybe they're closer to their own retirement, and they might limit their practice and become more focused on people who are it's kind of helping the hospital a little bit. You would get that extra attention.
That's right. It's all about trying to provide the access, and access is so important. The way we provide access is by growth. As our valley grows, we need to grow, which means that we need to get more specialists, more doctors, more room, more technology, more wings. And the only way to do that is to make those investments through philanthropy. Because what's interesting is, well, look at our valley. 80% of all of our patients here at Eisenhower are on some sort of governmental program, either Medicare or Medi-Cal. And basically, the long and the short of that is the reimbursement rates for those types of patients are very, very little. And I mean, you just hear it right now, the big, beautiful bill, or all kinds of bills. When people start looking to see how can the government start cutting things, that's where they do it. They figure out how can they cut really from the types of payments that they make. Well, when those payments get cut, that makes a big impact on us, especially if 80% of your patients are on those types of programs. Now, if we were somewhere else in the valley,
That's not just the Coachella Valley. That's not just Eisenhower. That's everywhere, pretty much, right? I mean, there are a lot of places,
right?
I would think. But
It's a lot of places, but for us in particular, it's even bigger impact because 80% of our patients are in that world. If you were to go to Orange County or in LA or metropolitan areas, that percentage will be very, very different. So you'd have maybe 30 or 45% or something like that in that world. We're at 80%. So our margins are
because
very
the retirement population.
right. The majority is, on Medicare. It's our demographics. And, it just doesn't go that far when it's philanthropy that really takes the burden and allows us to do what we do here at Eisenhower.
So you would say that, I would ask the question, how important is philanthropy and charitable giving to the survival of the hospital? I guess it's essential.
If it was a three-legged stool, I'd probably say it's almost two legs of that stool.
Okay.
But definitely one leg for sure. Yeah. And what's great about Eisenhower, and I love to share this information, is when you look at institutions, especially nonprofits, 501c3s, you got to look at, how much of that donation really goes in to help the institution. In other words, there's some expenses, obviously, running a 501c3, and typically a very, very good 501c3 would be somewhere in the 15th percentile range, which means that 85% of all donations go into the institution. That's a very well-run 501c3, a nonprofit. But with Eisenhower, it's incredible. 96%.
My goodness, that's
96% of all of our donations are directed to Eisenhower's greatest needs. So that's really significant and unique.
So the overhead of running the program, if I look at it in a reverse way, you're saying basically the cost of doing the programs, the cost of getting the donations and everything is about 4%, and everything else so when you're giving, it's going to the hospital. Because a lot of people in the past, I mean, I think there's been corrective measures with a wide variety of charities where the perception is that was not the case, and it might have been more inverse in the other way, but that's never been the case for Eisenhower.
No, we pride ourselves in that because it's important to us. I guess you can say we run pretty slim, and because we want to make sure that everything that we do goes right back into the institution to create that biggest impact for our community as we can. And we create a lot of impact. Let me give you another number, which is kind of mind-blowing. For example, our outpatient visits annually, we had 1,100,000 visits just this last year. And here's another one for you. And I know that's been in kind of the news a little bit recently as well. Our emergency department. We're actually the second busiest emergency department in Southern California. Second busiest. And I'm talking about, we're only behind just USC in Los Angeles. We're going to see somewhere close to 100,000 visits through our emergency department. And we've continued to expand that. We have brought in more doctors, brought in equipment. For example, we have X-ray machines and MRIs in the emergency department, so you're not transferred to another department to get those things done. Those machines were able to be purchased and installed in the emergency department to speed things up, try to get try to get you through that emergency department visit quicker, so they can see, are you ready to go home? Do you need to be admitted? Those things. And those are all done with philanthropic dollars.
I want to touch on that a little bit. I actually had that as part of one of my questions, because I want to, the viewers need to understand that, this is not some elite thing. This is the emergency room at the Coachella Valley Hospital serves the needs of everybody that goes to it. And a lot of the folks that go to it, just like any other community, we've got hardworking people. We've got hardworking people who find themselves going to the emergency room from the various agricultural, industries and so forth, or whatever it is that people are doing. And it is, that's what makes it so busy.
Yeah.
I think. And we're talking about, if you say it's the second largest, most busiest emergency room in Southern California, by population comparison.
Yeah.
I mean, we're growing, but we're dwarfed by Los Angeles, and so that speaks to a considerable need that you are, by donating to Eisenhower at that emergency level, helping with a dire need.
Yeah.
That serves a lot poor people who have a desperate need that are making use of the emergency room, which is a whole issue that needs to be addressed
right
across the country, I think, so that people get the treatment they need. And when someone goes to the emergency room and they step across the threshold, what's the duty? The hospital treats them.
That's right. Well, it's our fiduciary duty that anybody who crosses through those doors, they need to be provided with the best type of quality care that we can do. And our nurses and our doctors, they are so passionate about making sure that they provide the best type of care. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, how you got here. If you cross those doors, you're going to be taken care of. It doesn't matter what walk of life you're here. That's our duty. It's our responsibility. And especially as a nonprofit, it's something that we know that we have to do, and we do it in the best possible way we can.
From personal experience, and from the personal experience shared with me of other persons, I could say I know that's true. And you're going to walk through there, and everybody's going to be treated the same.
That's right.
With excellence and with compassion and with care. And we have to. So when you're giving to that organization, you are really providing for, in effect, you're providing for yourself with some benefits that you may get, but you're providing for the most needy in our community.
It reminds me of a small story. I had a donor a few years back who was really passionate about Eisenhower, wanted to support it, and we needed a particular type of equipment. It was an imaging piece of equipment. It was a cancer finding imaging piece of equipment. And that's what this donor was particularly passionate about. And the donation was made. We were able to buy this equipment. We had it for a few years, several years. And then that particular donor had to come back and went through through a few specialists, ended up utilizing the piece of equipment that they donated for. That piece of equipment was the piece that found that cancer, and that ultimately basically saved their lives. So they wanted to really support the community, which they did. And that piece of equipment saved a lot of lives. Never thought about, 3 years later coming down and that particular piece of equipment saving their own life. It's really incredible.
Restores your faith, or it's a powerful message there. Yeah. as to how a charitable gift like that can work.
Yeah.
Are there new developments coming down? Or new? What are the plans for the future?
Yeah. It's consistent. We're consistently investing in Eisenhower. Currently, we're in the middle of a campaign. It's the Eisenhower Passion for Excellence campaign. and it serves a few different purposes. And not to get into too much of the weeds of things, but areas of major interest is obviously cardiac care, heart. We're building an incredible source. It's called the Cardiovascular Institute. And right now, even our community hospital, which we don't act like it, but we are. We're a community hospital. We're top 50 in the country for cardiac care. But we're investing over $79 million into creating this cardiovascular pavilion, which is a 4-story building, and it's really bringing all of the specialists under one roof. And when that gets completed, who knows? It's really limitless to where we're going to be. We're going to have one of the premier cardiovascular practices and our ability to provide this type of care here in the Coachella Valley. And mind you, we're top 50 out of 7,000 institutions currently. So that's just one. We're also investing in memory care. Huge need here in the Coachella Valley. It's a need that we need to provide. That's a big investment for us. We've already broken ground on the memory care center. In cancer as well. We just made a massive expansion in our Lucy Curci Cancer Center to provide additional areas to provide transfusions and to provide cancer care. Also, child care. That's a big part of it as well. We're doing a child care portion as well, which is actually right next door to our memory care center. And through a lot of research and development, we found that programs with folks that have cognitive issues and with children, such as art or reading or music, or just having children play in a playground in the backyard, in the back, the folks that have these issues, these cognitive issues, just do so much better. So there's going to be some programming that's going to be involving both of those. So there's a lot happening here at Eisenhower.
A lot of thought goes into that, does it not? I mean, maybe the concept of having children around is stimulating to your mind, keeps you younger, right? I think that's a wonderful concept. If a person is interested in becoming a prospective donor, are there any specific steps that they can take?
I always say, making a donation is like making an investment. And, if you're going to make an investment in anything, you need to know what you're investing in. So I invite people, come see me. Come see me. Let me give you a tour around Eisenhower. Because usually when you come to a hospital, you come for one of two reasons, right? You're either as a patient or you're visiting a patient. Well, my job here is to introduce you to the other parts of Eisenhower, show you what we're doing, what we're investing in, and what you're planning on investing in. So give me a call, anybody here at the foundation, and just come in for a tour. We'll show you around, and we can share all the benefits that your philanthropic dollars will be able to do, how we can prove to you that we're going to be great stewards of that investment as well. So best thing to do is just give us a call.
Well, Kristian, that's been a wonderful discussion about what you can do. We touched on a lot of everything, really. We touched upon methodology of benefiting the hospital now or in the future through planned giving, through estates and trusts. The life estate concept was very illuminating. I'm very impressed. I think everybody who sees this is going to be impressed with really how this hospital in this community, this varied community, it makes a huge impact. Not just to its donors, not just to the demographic of retired people, but the people who work and function here every day. It's open. It takes care of so many people to the point of being the second most busy emergency room. That in Southern California, that all by itself justifies thoughts as to what that really means and why this would be a great place to make a charitable donation to. And I want to thank you for coming on board to Your Inheritance, and I hope the family's well and your travels over the summer going great. And say hi to your mom and dad and everybody. Thanks for being on board.
I appreciate it, Peter. Thank you so much for allowing me to share something that I'm really passionate about, which is Eisenhower. And I'm happy to help in any way that I can. You're welcome to reach out to me. I'll provide you some contact information, Peter, and you're welcome to share that with your viewers. And there's lots of easy ways to do things, and I'm here to help and inspire.
All right. And you certainly do. Thanks.
Thank you, Peter. Bye.
You've been tuning in to Your Inheritance, Your Rights, Your Obligations, Your Responsibilities with your host, Peter Bochnewich. If you're being sued over an estate or if you feel you're not getting your share, Peter's firm can help you. You can find the show at www.betrustlaw.com and on YouTube, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. Thank you for your positive feedback, comments, questions, and for sharing the show with others.